Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing a lesson on Math 7.7 and that's on page 192 and 193. Today we're going to be talking about how to estimate factors in a multiplication problem. It piggybacks on a lesson that we talked about last week, so you'll recognize that pretty quickly. But first I'm going to start off with showing you the two different methods to estimate factors. So the first one is one you're very familiar with. It's just rounding or estimating. And when we're estimating our factors, we're going to estimate them to the biggest place value in the number. And so in this case, for 17 times 75, both are in their tens, right? And so we're going to round them to the nearest 10. So 17, of course, rounds to 20. And 75 rounds to 80. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and multiply. And this is a lesson that you might recognize from last week, where we have a multiple of 10 times a multiple of 10. We can ignore the zeros for now, just deal with the actual digits of 2 and 8 and multiply those. And I get 16. And then we add the 2 zeros at the end. And my answer becomes 1,600. So I estimated the product of 17 times 75 by rounding each of them individually. Now, there's another method that's called front end. Now, front end is really simple. It's just that you take the first digit in each number and multiply them in the place value they are in. So, for example, the 1 is, we're going to take the 1, but because it's in the 10 spot, we're going to say it's 10. Remember, this is not rounding, so I'm not rounding 17 to 10 because of course 17 rounds to 20. This is just taking the first numbers, first digits. And I'm going to take the 7, and because 75 is in the tens, I'm going to take 7 and I'm going to make it a 10, which would be 7 tens. And so when I multiply 10 times 70, I'm going to take my 1 and my 7, multiply, and I get 2 zeros of 700. Now these are very different numbers. 700 is not very close to 1600. That's okay. If you look at your numbers and you're like, well, I didn't get anything near the other number, you're using two very different methods, and that is going to happen. But nonetheless, it's a method to learn, and so your answers are not necessarily going to be very close together. Okay, I'm going to show you another example, and I'm going to use the one from the book on page 192. And they use the numbers, it's a word problem, and they use the numbers 170 and 25. So 170 times 25, again, we're estimating the factors, okay? So 170, because 170 is in the hundreds, I want to round this to the nearest 100. And of course, 170 rounds to 200. Okay, and then 25 is in the tens, and I'm going to round 25 to the nearest 10, which is going to be 30. And then I'm going to round those two, just like we learned last week, taking the front end digit, 2 times 3, and then adding the zeros at the end, 1, 2, 3 zeros. I get 6,000. Okay, so I'm going to use the front end method. Again, the answers won't necessarily be near each other. It's just another method to use, though. I'm going to take the first digit here and the first digit here, the front end numbers. And because 1 is in the hundreds, it's not going to be 10 or 1, it's going to be 100. And 2 is in the tens, and so that's going to be 20. 100 times 20, I can just do front end here. 1 times 2 is 2 with 3 zeros. So again, 2,000 and 6,000, not necessarily close together, but that's okay. All right, let's do one more as a practice. Okay, so let's use the first method of rounding. 89 to the nearest 10 is going to be 90, and 35 to the nearest 10 is going to be 40. We're going to multiply those like the method we used last week. 9 times 4 is just 36 with 2 zeros at the end. All right, let's do the same thing but front end. So I'm going to take the 8 and the 3. The 8 is in the 10th spot, so that becomes an 80. The 3 is in the 10th spot, that becomes a 30. 8 times 3 is 24. Add the 2 zeros, 2,400. So 2 different methods to estimating factors. All right, today's homework you're going to be working on is a worksheet, and it's 7.7B. So you have to look in the little corner. It's BLM, or Black Line Master 7.7B. Okay. If you have any questions, save them for me on our Zoom on Tuesday. All right, see you guys later.